And we are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast, to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Los Angeles Lakers, I want to make sure to remind you guys to like and subscribe. Our podcast, Revved Up 906, is growing, and we want to continue to grow, and that's where you guys come in. So make sure to smash that like button. And then if you're new to the channel, also subscribe. Below this video, there is an arrow button, and that arrow button is the share button. So you can share our channel to friends, family, fellow Detroit Pistons fans on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, all of the above. So make sure if you like our content and you know people that might also enjoy our content, make sure to hit that share button and spread word about Revved Up 906. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Tonight's final score was 133-107 in the LA Lakers' favor. The statistics, we'll get into it from tonight's game. Like, when you look at the box score, nothing is like insanely bad. The Pistons overall only had 14 turnovers. Sometimes they can be pushing 23. It was just more of an effort thing. And it seems like the Monty Williams press conferences, the team meetings just haven't really been doing too much. But Ryan, first thing I want to talk about tonight was D'Angelo Russell, 18 points in the first half, and then finished with 35. Defensively at the guard position, the Pistons are just kind of subpar, not really able to guard opposing teams' solid point guards.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily if it's one person to blame or it's everybody to blame. And I don't want to blame one person. So therefore you'd go everybody. But what I will say is we've been hounding him a couple games now, but Cade is not a great defender. He really isn't. That's something that he really needs to work on, because if you're going to be one of these guys who's on the front line, front and center, you're going to need to lock down these guys. It can't just be a SARS job. Like, you can't just sit there and be all instant offense, but then as soon as you're back on defense, you're going like, Asar, you got him. That's your guy. Like, you're better than me. You got to go lock him up. It can't be that all the time. And that's why I love Asar, because he's such a great defender that he's able to slow all these guys down. Whereas having him this year now, from what we've seen, is before, like last year, we knew our defense was bad, but we didn't know how bad our guys were at defense. And then with Asar playing the way he is on defense and being such a great defender, and then even Jalen Duren improving even more so than he was last year, you're starting to see like Cade is not a great defender. Jaden Ivey is not a great defender. All these guys, the list goes on. They are not good at defense. And Monty Williams made the first comment about, we are not playing Detroit Pistons basketball the last night out. And he's correct in that assessment, because this team is not defensive minded. The only two defensive minded guys are pretty much Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson. And if you're going to win these games, you can't allow D'Angelo Russell. I love them. I love the man. He's a great basketball player, one of the better point guards that I've had the privilege to watch. He's a Buckeye, though. That's the only negative part about him. But like, you can't allow somebody who really hasn't been relevant the last couple of years to be relevant again. Like, D'Angelo Russell hasn't had a cream of the crop, I'm going to drop 30 every single night like he had been doing when he was in Brooklyn, or even the last couple of years in Minnesota. Like, he can't just go out there and let him cook like he did. Like, he missed 4 shots the entire night in 34 minutes played, 5 of 7 from the 3-point line, and then 4 of 5 from the free throw line. Like, he balled out. He didn't miss a shot pretty much. And an easy way of stopping him or slowing him down is contesting him. And we weren't contesting these shots that he put up all night long. And my thing is, like, are you afraid that he's going to blow by you? Like, is that the issue? Or is it the issue that you're afraid that he's going to blow by you and then help side defense isn't going to be there? Because that has to be what it is, because there's no way you're not sticking your hand out trying to contest this dude's shot that hasn't missed. So my thing is like for us to physically slow these guys down, I know our offense struggles from time to time, but we need to take that step on defense because it can't just be Jalen Duren, Asar Thompson, and even Marcus Sasser, guys like that at times, just being our sole defenders. It has to be everyone.
Right. And tonight, it wasn't like just one guy went off. We saw Anthony Davis put up 28 and then LeBron James put up 25. I mean, yes, those are the top three guys on this roster, but when you're coming into a game against the Lakers, you know that you're not going to be able to stop all three guys, but you have to be able to slow them down. That's what we were talking about in the last Revved Up recap. They just pretty much did whatever they wanted. And when you're playing against a team that is in a tough conference like the Western Conference, every night they're playing tough teams, you have to be able to at least not let them do whatever they want. LeBron James is always controlling the pace of every game he's playing in. That's one of the things, not just his scoring and defense, that makes him great, is that he controls the game. Everything in the pace of everything in the game is going through LeBron, and we didn't slow that down at all. And I was kind of hoping with the length that the Pistons have this year, with Asar Thompson at the wing and Jalen Duren protecting the paint, that maybe we would be able to kind of mess with the cohesiveness of the Lakers offense, but they just did whatever they wanted. We're going to talk about this in this upcoming week's episode that comes out on Saturday. We're going to be talking about what is going wrong with the Pistons. And one of the things I mentioned is the Pistons are bottom 10 in the league in deflections per game. So they aren't messing with the passing lane defensively. They're not always the most consistent when protecting the paint. And when NBA teams, especially in the West, are able to do whatever they want on the offensive end, you're going to see multiple guys on the opposing team's roster score over 20. And the Lakers proved that against the Pistons.
Yeah, there's not just one guy that you can really go like, this is your fault, because as a unit, it's everyone's fault.
Agreed.
And we looked at everybody on the bench tonight, their faces when the camera panned to them. We saw them like look miserable. Like they did not look happy at all, which that's what they should look like. But I think deep down they know, crap, Monty is going to rip on us again in the locker room tonight. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And I can guarantee you it is. These guys, I don't know what it's going to take for them to get their head out of the gutter and just go to work, because it just seems like with these teams in the West or anybody that comes to play in Detroit at Little Caesars Arena, it just seems like they don't have the care in the world that they're getting embarrassed in front of their home fans. Like they don't care. And it's just frustrating to me. And especially more so that I made the comment to you about this earlier, but the fact that we had fans cheering for LeBron every single time he did something. And I understand he is one of the greatest players to ever do it, to ever walk this face of the earth. But at the same time, it's the Lakers, people. We are rivals with them. I mean, not more so recently, but historically speaking, we are. We've owned the Lakers in the playoffs. We've owned the Lakers in the championship. So we can't be cheering for a guy like that, because that's also going to be taking the pride and joy out of our players too, listening to the fact that, oh, they're cheering for the other team. They're not even cheering for us. Like, I understand that side of things, and I don't care about that. That's just a little pet peeve of mine right now. But the point is, like, these guys aren't showing up to play, so there's no point of rooting for them there. They're not putting in any hard work, clearly, because they're not listening to the message that Monty Williams is trying to pretty much speak his mind of. This is a good, talented group. Like, they aren't scrubs. They're actually good. They're better than majority of the teams that have been worse for us, but they just can't put it all together. And it's weird because this group is so close off the court. Like, they're buddy, they're best friends, but yet they can't somehow figure out how to play basketball together. Like, that's your job. Just go out and do it. So it's just, when you allow teams like the Lakers, who are Showtime Lakers. They can walk in there, do whatever they want. It's so frustrating to me because, like, I love Christian Wood, especially when he played with us, but allowing him to get 12 minutes pretty much in the second half alone, like, are we serious right now? Or
Right.
like, I like even Taurean Prince, like he's a solid player. He's not anything special, but allowing him to get 9 points, allowing D'Angelo Russell to get 35. I don't like Anthony Davis, so I'm just going to go out and say it. Allowing him to get a double double. Now I will say
Thick one too.
the one positive, Austin Reeves only had 6 points tonight. 3 of 8
Yeah.
from the field, 0-4 from three. Like in 24 minutes played, he was irrelevant. I'm
What a
happy.
bum.
I'm happy just off that alone. That's my one big takeaway from tonight is we held Austin Reeves to absolutely nothing because he's trash. But but no, like I'm embarrassed to be a Pistons fan right now, and every Pistons fan out there has every right to be. Like the fact of we have the league coming after us right now, like just league in terms of fans coming after us, going like, "Oh, the Pistons are an embarrassment to the NBA." Like I'm tired of hearing about that. Just go out there and work. So that's my one tangent for right now. But like, come on, people, go out there and work.
Well, and when looking at the box score, like there's not a bunch of like differentials as far as like statistics. And then watching the game, the biggest takeaways are just effort, little things, not making shots consistently. But then you like really start to dig, and the Lakers had 58 points in the paint tonight to the Pistons 42. So it's like, okay, you're going to go up against the Lakers. D'Angelo Russell's going to try to make an impact offensively, whether it's passing or shooting. Anthony Davis is going to want to take his threes when he wants. LeBron James is going to be that mid-range threat. Okay, but if we're going to know that they're going to be good shooters, we have to be able to slow them down in the paint because that's where it starts. That's where the easy buckets happen. But then we also saw a differential with the Lakers shooting 51% from the field to finish the game, Pistons shooting 41%. But something that irks me a little bit, and it irks me because the Pistons typically are a good defensive rebounding team. We got Isaiah Stewart, Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren that are usually solely focused on rebounding. Like they want to grab every single one, and they prove that each and every game. And the Pistons were out rebounded by 9 rebounds, which box score, it doesn't completely jump out at you. But when you think about it, the time of possession when you get 9 more rebounds is influential. And you have to assume a couple of those were offensive rebounds. So those are second chance points the Lakers are getting. And then a couple of them are going to be defensive rebounds. So it's like that is all time of possession that the Pistons missed out on in going down in the, trailing by so much. So 9 rebounds in a tough loss like tonight was, it's crucial because if the Pistons aren't going to score well, you're not going to defend. Well, you might as well have solid assist numbers and solid rebounding numbers. And it's unfortunate that they weren't really able to provide that.
Yeah, and you look at our offensive rebounds, we did out rebound the Lakers 10-8, which is I guess a positive. But the Lakers out assisted us. They had 28, we had 27. But in pretty much every single category you could think of, they beat us. And it's just one of those things where you try and not nitpick, but where were we on the glass? Because when you have Jalen Duren, who's a beast on the glass, averaging a double-double this season, you have Asar Thompson, who's a beast on the glass and is averaging a double-double this season. And then Stu even is a beast. Like those 3 guys alone, I should single-handedly beat Anthony Davis, but it just didn't happen. And then you also have Bagley, who's an okay rebounder. He knows how to hit the glass at time to time.
Right.
But like James Wiseman, 12 minutes tonight, only had 5 rebounds, which is a lot compared to the rest of the team. But still, like we have the length to go out there and hit the glass. Why aren't we hitting the glass? And I really, there's not one like overarching statistical error that we had tonight. It's more of like the biggest critique from me is the effort. Like you can nitpick all you want about defense rebounds and offense rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, yada yada. But at the end of the day, like if they're not putting in the effort, which is clear and evident just off rebounds alone, then we're not ever going to win these games. And that's just so frustrating to me.
Yeah. The people that are watching, I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are on this 15-game losing streak from the Pistons. So make sure to comment below what your thoughts are when you maybe see the Pistons turning it around. But one positive that did come out from tonight is Isaiah Livers in his 22 minutes, getting 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. 5 of 8 shooting, 4 of 6 from the 3-point line. This is kind of what we've been hoping for. And if we would have given Isaiah Livers expectations of statistics at the beginning of the season, it would have been hovering right around that mark. So maybe this is a sign that he's possibly turning it around. We'll want to keep an eye on that when he goes up against the New York Knicks. But we have been tough on Isaiah Livers, but we also would be the first to be a fan of him. So it was good to see him put up some solid numbers.
Yeah, I'm not complaining off his stat line alone. Like what he did tonight makes me happy. Because it's always hard being negative on Pistons players alone, but it's hard being negative on Pistons players, people who are born and raised in the state of Michigan, and people that played at the University of Michigan. That's even harder. So it's very, very uplifting and very good to see the fact that he was very productive in his 22 minutes, whereas the last night there, in the same amount of time, had 8 points and was just not making shots. He was like, what, the 3 of 17, like, oh no, 3 of 11, something like that. He was not good. That's the bottom line. So the fact that he's definitely getting into the rhythm again, that's a very positive note to see. And I'll be the first one to say it. I mean, I said it in the offseason going into this season. I think he could be a Cam Johnson-esque player with Monty Williams, the way he was with Phoenix there. So, like, I really see that with Livers. I really believe in him. It's just you are going to have dud games here and there, but, like, if he can go out there and do what he did tonight on a consistent basis, I'm all for it, because that was probably the biggest bright spot in our loss tonight. Outside of the fact, I will add, that every single Piston scored tonight, which is pretty hard to do. But I mean, when you're getting blown out, it's pretty easy to do. But no, like, Livers, thank you for actually doing somewhat decent. I think you've been listening to our constructive criticism here, but thank you.
Yeah, it was really good to see. And like I said before, we've been tough on him, but we're also the first to be fans of him. So we just expect a lot out of him because we know what he can do. One thing, and I talked about it in the last recap, I said moving with a purpose. I said we don't see the Pistons moving with a purpose. When the Pistons play against the New York Knicks tomorrow night, the viewers and me and Ryan, we're going to be watching for it. But I saw it again tonight against the Lakers. There was a specific possession where Cade Cunningham got the ball at the top of the key, and no one moved. They all watched Cade with the ball. No one's cutting, no one's screening, no off-ball screens, no nothing. All 4 other Detroit Pistons player I remember it specifically. I think it was Asar, was on one side. Somebody was in the corner, maybe Livers. And then one guy in the paint and one guy at the opposite end of the 3-point line. And then Cade was at the top of the key. And nobody was moving. I hope the coaching staff is starting to take notice of that, because these offensive possessions, there's just not much pizzazz to them. The Pistons have been predictable. If you watch 10 minutes of film on the Pistons, most teams are going to know how to guard them. And if you double team Cade, then he's going to be handled for the night. It's like, the Pistons need to switch something up. I understand when designed plays don't work out. Defenses are so long and active feet-wise that not all designed offensive plays are going to work. I get it. I'm not saying that has to be like the go-to, but moving with a purpose is going to have to be something that's addressed with the Pistons, because I just notice it over and over and over again that everyone's watching the ball handler and staying in their spot.
Yeah, this team doesn't cut. We look back at last year, one of the few guys that actually did was Ronnie Magruder. And we'd always applaud him for it, because he wouldn't get the most minutes, but every single time out there, he was cutting, playing with a purpose, doing everything possible to make sure that the team got the win. But we haven't seen that yet out of any player outside of pretty much Asar Thompson this year. Asar at times doesn't move, but I understand it because there's certain plays that are drawn up for certain possessions, and Cade is the guy, so obviously he can call his own number from time to time. But like, there's not many guys that have actually been cutting or anything. Cutting is a very crucial piece to winning in the NBA, let alone any division of basketball you play, whether it's high school, college, NBA, obviously, but even like elementary basketball, cutting is essential. If you're not cutting, nobody's getting open. There's no ball movement. It's easy for the defense to get the job done. And so, like, these guys like Asar Thompson can cut, like Jaden Ivey can cut. These guys are freaks of athletes, very fast. Marcus Sasser, especially, like, all these guys should be cutting left and right, and they just aren't. The ball movement, they're always in an ISO offense, which I don't understand at all. I understand it in most cases, but like with the Pistons and the explosiveness of certain guys on our team, it makes absolutely no sense at all. And I hope that's not necessarily Monty making that play call. I hope it's Cade making that play call, because I don't think it's Monty. But still, like, this team, you have like, you can go down every single player. They are very talented in one thing or the other, especially in athleticism. And like, if this team just was flying all over the place, which we would expect them to be, man, I would expect these games like tonight alone to be a lot closer than what they are. But every single time we seem to go into an ISO offense, and it hurts us because there's no movement at all, and the ball's not moving, and then it's cake work for the defense, and then we're forcing up a shot with a hand in the face, which we don't even need to be doing if people were just cutting already.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be a change soon. Something to keep an eye out on, especially when we play against the New York Knicks. I believe then we have the Memphis Grizzlies or the Cavs. A couple tough games coming up, and it's not going to get any easier. And hopefully the Pistons can figure something out. And I think as far as changing offensive schemes, defensive schemes, change it all, switch it up. If it's broken, you got to fix it. You know, that's just the way it is. It's like, yeah. And you know what? It stinks too, because once you get in a 15-game losing streak, you're so focused on the last game and what went wrong. And then you're not able to game plan for Tuesday night's game and Friday night's game and all the games that are coming up, because you're so focused on, hey guys, look at everything we did wrong against the Los Angeles Lakers. And then you're not talking about Steven Adams, who's coming up against, in Memphis. And then you're not talking about Evan Mobley and Darius Garland in Cleveland and how you game plan to go against them. So what stinks is when you're this deep in a hole, it's a trickle effect. The snowball keeps getting bigger and bigger. The problem keeps getting bigger and bigger. So we're going to want to keep an eye on what they do for game plans, because honestly, when watching these games, do you get the thought that there's much game plans? Like, I don't think that there really is, or the Pistons just aren't doing them.
I think it's the Pistons aren't doing them. Because Monty made the comment about that the other night. Like, they're not following the game plan. They're not following it at all. There's no effort. And if he's saying that and he's noticing that, I would assume that the players are not following the game plan, because there's no way Monty is putting together a bad game plan. I just don't believe it at all. Like, There's a reason why he's one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA by far, but then also one of the better coaches in the league. Like, there's a reason for that. I'm sure he has a fantastic game plan, but these guys aren't just going out there and doing it. Because there's no way we're getting blown out at home by the Lakers. I'm sorry. There's just no case for that. There's no case for anybody coming into Little Caesars Arena and blowing us out. So I really think we're not following the game plan.
Yeah, I that would be my best guess. It's kind of interesting to watch, but we'll see what happens against the New York Knicks in these next couple of games. The Knicks are probably going to be the most winnable game in the next 5 games after that. So it's going to be a game we want to get. But time will tell. We'll be hopping back on to talk about it tomorrow night. Thank you guys for tuning in to tonight's recap. Before you leave, I want to remind you guys to like and subscribe. Also, this week on the Mothership podcast, we talk about if Troy Weaver should be on the hot seat after kind of curating this team. And so we get into the nit and grit details. So make sure to tune into that episode and comment below your thoughts on the Pistons 15-game losing streak when you see them turning it around. Who should maybe get some more playing time, if there should be a trade that happens. Comment below and let us know. We'd be very interested to know what you guys think. So we will see you guys in the next Revved Up recap when it's Pistons versus the New York Knicks. Peace.